Hey guys, Nintendrew here. Today I'll be reviewing the OneXFly from OneNotebook, a fully featured Windows PC in the form factor of a handheld. Let's get to it. Alright, first up, before we get started, I just want to let you all know I'm doing a giveaway this month with our sponsor, Hinomi. They just sent me this new office chair, and no joke, it is the most comfortable chair I have ever owned. And I'm not just saying that because they're paying me. They are paying me though, but that's a Drew original. This is the X1 from Hinomi. It's got tons of ridiculously cool features, including 6 methods of adjustment on the armrests, a 4-panel backrest for lumbar support, and a combination foot and leg rest in an office chair. It's great. There's tons of different seating positions to suit your needs, whether you're working at a desk, kicking back with a handheld, or just taking a nap. And we're giving one away to one lucky viewer. Just check my pinned comment down below to learn how to enter to win. The contest is open to the US, UK, Singapore, and Canada, and thank you to Hinomi for sponsoring this episode. Go check them out. They've got all sorts of cool chairs, and if chairs aren't your thing, they've got standing desks too. And you know, what more do you need in life, really? So, here is the OneXFly, a Windows PC in the form factor of a handheld. Now, the elephant in the room is obviously this is taking some design inspiration from the Steam Deck, and by transitive property, the Nintendo Switch. So I will be comparing and contrasting it with those two devices throughout this video. Similar to the Steam Deck, and unlike the Switch, this one is one solid unit, so no wireless controllers here. But if you're playing PC games without holding the device, you'll probably want an Xbox controller anyway. It also runs Windows 11 as opposed to SteamOS, which means you're not locked to Steam as far as marketplaces are concerned. I've got Steam, Epic, Uplay, Origin, and a whole lot more on this thing. Anywhere you play PC games, you can play it here. Now, one major difference that sets the OneXFly apart is its price. It retails for $949, which is significantly more than the Steam Deck, but with good reason. This thing packs a lot more horsepower. Speaking of which, let's take a look at the hardware. Of course, the first thing to mention is this 1080p 120Hz LED touchscreen display versus the 800p and 720p screens of the Steam Deck and Switch. Honestly, having a 120Hz panel on a handheld is kind of mind-blowing to me. And the OneXFly also offers a customization option here in the form of this RGB display, which you can use to show off your name or username or whatever else you might want to put here, which is probably the most striking thing about this particular design. Unfortunately, I didn't get to choose the customization on this review unit, but you would be able to do so if you were placing an order on their website. It uses high-quality Hall effect joysticks, so you won't have to worry about analog drift, and all the buttons feel great, especially these triggers. These triggers are really nice. Ooh. On the top, we have a power button and volume rocker, as well as a headset port, a USB-C charging port, and a full-size USB-A port. In addition, there are 2 programmable buttons up here that you can use for pretty much anything you want. I've got mine set to toggle full screen, and then the other is set to the Xbox button. On the bottom, we've got the speakers, as well as another USB-C port and a micro SD card slot. And on the back, we've got the intake fan, which is really my only complaint about this design. It means you can't put this system on a blanket or a bed without risking it overheating, but a hard surface like a table is fine. Internally, the system is running on an AMD Ryzen 7 7840U processor and AMD Radeon 780M graphics, which for my NVIDIA folks out there, I've heard is fairly comparable to a GTX 1060 card, which makes it no slouch. But seeing is believing, so let's take a look at some games. I've tried to get a wide variety of commonly played PC titles just to give it a good benchmark, and I've gotten it to run Fortnite, Grand Theft Auto 5, Doom Eternal, Just Cause 4, Cyberpunk 2077, Overwatch, and a whole lot more without a hitch. They all play great. This graphics card has support for DirectX 12 and ray tracing on a handheld. And like I mentioned, it's got that 120Hz screen, so you can hit the gritty at 120 FPS, which is pretty dope. Of course, even though it's not locked to Steam, Steam does work perfectly fine on the OneXFly. Big Picture mode gives you pretty much the same experience as a Steam Deck. And just as a personal challenge, I wanted to see if I could get the PC port of Returnal running on this thing. To be clear, this really shouldn't work. Returnal is a current-gen masterpiece, and there's even a warning upon boot, which explicitly says, Returnal does not support running on your current hardware or software specifications. But after just a bit of tweaking, I managed to get it up and running pretty well. There is some stuttering here and there, but for all intents and purposes, this is Returnal running natively on a handheld. And I just think that's great. And I'll only mention this briefly because I don't have any desire to have the Nintendo Ninjas on me, but it was a little too easy to get Switch games running on this thing. I'll just leave it at that. Concerning battery life, I found I could generally get about 2 to 2.5 hours of gameplay in before needing to charge up. That's a little shorter than I would like, but I understand it is about comparable to the Steam Deck. One thing I absolutely love is the dual USB-C ports. There are so many times I'm playing my Switch on low battery and I have to charge it while playing, and having the cable come out of the bottom sucks. But now you have a choice for which you'd like to use. Both ports can charge and both can output to a monitor or television over HDMI with a compatible adapter or dock. Speaking of which, it does work with a Switch dock. Not normal ones, this thing is far too thick, but third-party docks which use a cable like this one from Genki will work just fine, for the most part. It won't charge at the same rate as it's discharging because, again, this thing is much more powerful than a Steam Deck and way more beefy than a Switch, so you'll still be running partially on battery power. But you can always use that second USB-C port to charge up if you're in a pinch, and if you purchase a dock that's actually meant for it, of course it'll charge just fine. For what it's worth, I think it's like $30 extra for the system with a dock and carrying case, so you should probably just go for that if you're already getting one. Because the OneXFly does run full Windows 11, you get many of the benefits of running a PC. In fact, there's even a dedicated button for a built-in interface that gives you power over overclocking, RGB lighting, fan speeds, and more. But having a handheld with Windows does also come with some associated drawbacks. For instance, it's kind of finicky to control the desktop interface with just controller inputs, so you might prefer to use the touchscreen or an external mouse for some operations. Also, since it's basically a Windows box, it'll crash sometimes. Thus are the joys of PC gaming. However, another benefit of it running full Windows is it doesn't just have to be for games. In fact, just for fun, I installed Vegas Pro on this thing and edited a portion of this video. I genuinely might stop bringing my gaming laptop to conventions and just bring this thing instead. With a proper hub and access to a TV, it's an easy conversion to a portable desktop computer. Not only that, but with the ability to run OBS, it should be a competent mobile recording and streaming setup too. All of the gameplay footage in this video was recorded on device, not through an external capture card. Although some of my recordings were interrupted mid-session and I'm not sure why, so I'm gonna have to troubleshoot that further and figure out what's going on there. Now, one thing I do want to mention is, when I went to start recording this gameplay footage, I came across a potential security risk that I do want to make you guys aware of if you're thinking about buying one. See, if you're familiar with OBS, you'll know there's a list of audio sources here in the bottom middle, and I noticed that, of course, there was an entry for the built-in microphone. Cool. So I disabled that and realized the microphone was still getting picked up on another channel, the desktop audio channel. Weird. So I went and disabled the microphone from the Windows system settings just to be safe, and still there. I disabled it entirely from the Windows Device Manager, and it was still picking up the microphone. I've never seen OBS behave in this way. Let me know in the comments if you have. On top of this, I noticed that the desktop audio mic input sounded a bit different from the normal microphone channel. It's more drowned out by the internal fans, which made me worry about the possibility of a second hidden microphone. Keep in mind, the speakers sound perfectly fine. They're not echoing the mic. In fact, the audio on this thing is great, no complaints there. But OBS specifically was tuning into an additional microphone input on the desktop audio channel from the speaker's device. Now, I'm not one to jump to conspiracy theories, so I didn't assume this behavior was intentional. I reached out to the company and they asked their engineering team to look at the problem, and this is what they got back to me with. Hi Andrew, our engineers have completed some tests based on your query, here's what we found. Scene 1, without using headphones, not good. Microphone enabled, records sound. Microphone disabled, still records sound. Scene 2, using headphones, good. Microphone enabled, records sound. Microphone disabled, does not record sound. Conclusion, after comparing and analyzing, in the case of OBS, despite disabling the microphone, the software is still controlling the microphone within the Windows system. OBS's own drivers seem to be operating at a higher priority level, accessing the microphone function at a lower system level. Our microphone's drivers are currently unable to control OBS, as it seems OBS has taken precedence over microphone control. This might require optimizations in the OBS software's drivers. So in testing this, it does seem to check out. If you plug in headphones with the mic muted, OBS will record just gameplay audio, which is great. But it doesn't actually disable the microphone entirely. You can still manually change the audio source back to speakers, and suddenly you'll hear your voice again. The only way I found to completely disable this additional microphone input was to disable the speaker's device as well from either the Settings app or the Device Manager, which is not ideal. It should be easier to guarantee your devices are not recording you. My best guess is that there's some sort of embedded mic in one of the components they used and it was overlooked. I've been told some headphone ports do this, or otherwise maybe it's the same mic as the normal one but without some kind of audio filtering over it. In that case it could just be some kind of software bug, I don't know. Maybe it's ghosts, who could say? But I figured I should mention it for those who take their security and privacy seriously. I don't think it's sinister in nature or that it's intentional behavior at all, but it's still something to be aware of. If you absolutely don't want to be recorded, don't use the speakers. So yeah, all that being said, whether or not this system is right for you really depends on what you're looking for. If you're in the market for a Steam Deck but want something even more powerful, this is a decent option. Now there are other Steam Deck competitors on the market like the ROG Ally and the Lenovo Legion Go. I don't personally have either of those, so I'll leave the broader comparisons to other reviewers, but my impression is that this system is a little bit more capable than either of those options. And that is reflected in the price tag. but that microphone issue is a bummer, and the battery life does leave something to be desired. So overall, I give the OneXFly a 7 out of 10. Alright, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed. As always, if you did enjoy the video, please do consider subscribing to Nintendrew for all sorts of cool gaming content, and make sure to share it with any friends who might find it interesting. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye!